Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. A disappointing loss for your Phillies. They fall 2-0 to the New York Mets, and that's just gross. Anytime the Mets gain an advantage by beating you in a game of baseball, it makes me sick to my stomach. But here we are. I thought the Phillies had plenty of opportunities to crack into the lead there and have a chance to score runs. They just weren't able to execute, and that's what hurts me the most, right? You look at that ninth inning, you have Schwarber up, you have JT up who gets on base. Awesome. Pokes it right through the right side of the infield. He gets on base. Bryce Harper strikes out. Now you're down to your last out. Castellanos puts the bat on the ball. Francisco Lindor, amazing play. Can't get it to second base quickly enough. JT Realmuto slides into second. Here you go. You got a chance for Rhys Hoskins. Slider. He's swinging on these sliders. Diaz was on another level right there, and bada bing, bada boom, the game is over, unfortunately, and that's really where we were. The seventh inning, there was a one-out double by Castellanos. You weren't able to execute. Rhys Hoskins gets boned with a super low pitch on the bottom half of the strike zone. It wasn't even close. When you go back to McCann, who framed the pitch, he caught the ball underneath the strike zone, and by the time he framed it, he was in the middle of the plate. Excuse me. How do you miss that? You cannot miss that. You cannot. It's unacceptable. I won't allow it. That's one that it's game now. Right now, the game is on the line. Major opportunity for the Phillies. How do you miss that call? It was blatant. It was obvious. Don't hit me with the it was too close to take. I was off the plate. And that's what good hitters do. They recognize you don't swing there. You're not chasing. You are built internally as a great hitter to not swing at that pitch. Unacceptable. Now, that's not the reason why they lost the game, but I think it's fair to bring that up. Then Didi chases high cheese. So that's really where you were in the seventh inning. Now, Didi thought he put a good bat on ball all day, though. Pete Alonso over by the first base side robbed him. Maybe it was going foul when you saw the one angle of the replay. Maybe the ball was curling to the right side of that first base sideline, or first base foul line, I should say. And then he put good bat on ball for a fly out earlier in the game as well. I thought Didi was actually seeing the ball fine, but chasing high cheese. He had first base wide open. Was he just going out there trying to cause too much havoc? It is a possibility. And then, of course, in the sixth inning, Camargo singles, you bunt him over, Kyle Schwarber grounds out, and JT Realmuto grounds out. So there were your chances, 6th, 7th, and 9th inning. And unfortunately, Bryson Stott, who made excellent defensive plays. Look, Zack Wheeler was on the mound, first inning shaky. And I'm going back to the first inning because I thought Bryson Stott playing second base showed some versatility. Made the simple ground balls that he had to make, simple ground ball plays, threw it to first base the right way, and then he also supported Rhys Hoskins, where Rhys should have got out of the first inning with a double play ball. Didn't. The ball hit his glove, but Bryson Stott had his back up to at least get one out. But those are the type of details, and those are the type of problems that's going to constantly happen all the time this year, which made Zack Wheeler stay out there longer. Could have been out of that first inning a little bit earlier. Maybe he's able to stay in the game longer. Obviously, his pitch count was a focus, and I thought he was sharp after that first inning. He had a problem, too. He was hitting batters, hit Pete Alonso, so his location was off. He settled in. Fifth inning, gets a quick 2 outs. You think, hey, who knows? Who knows what the distance could be for him today? And then Nimmo, with a blink of an eye, takes one to right field, and the Phillies were down 1-0. But I brought up the beginning frame because I wanted to note how good Bryson Stott was at that time. And then he made that stellar grab where he's moving to his left and makes a diving catch. But there was a deflating part of this game where Joe Girardi elects to keep in Sanchez against Marte, it felt like an uh-oh moment. And I'm not the Joe Girardi hater who rips apart every single decision. But even before we saw the outcome, I think a lot of people recognize maybe it's time to say, hey, Christopher Sanchez, you're done. Probably your time to leave the game, time to exit. You did great. You did phenomenal. You had some nasty pitches in there. You froze some hitters. Really nice pitch selection at times. Awesome location at times. Awesome. Probably your time to go. Joe Girardi stays with him. Gets a perfect double play ball to Camargo. Bryson Stott trips over the bag. Now, I guess here's where you could look at that scenario. There's a difference between bad defense, which we saw with Alec Boehm, where he can't make the plays, and then that. That was like wonky, right? That's not Bryson Stott being a horrible defender or being an awful player. But it really comes down to the fact that he just tripped, and that was a weird play that doesn't happen very often. He fell backwards. He lost his footing. I don't know, whatever the case may be that happened there. And then, of course, you get Marte get on base. He steals second. Francisco Lindor makes you pay. What did I say yesterday? The Mets pitching, they were in some trouble health-wise. They lose their starting pitcher in Walker. They lose Trevor May. But if you're the Phillies, you have to cash in on that. Take advantage of the fact that they're missing their guys. It's an uncontrollable. Well, the Mets, they responded with it just like that the next day. You thought that maybe there'd be some momentum. There wasn't momentum. Now, I'm not freaking out. Bryce Harper's hitting 111 right now. Struck out a couple of times. He's in a bit of a funk. He'll be all right. If you remember last year, it was that second half push that was incredible, but it wasn't that way all season long. It takes some time to get into the flow of things. Kyle Schwarber's not into the flow of things yet. It's going to take some time for sure. So there's no panic button. The Mets weren't raking today either. All right, they finished with 2 runs. They had the 1 homer, and then they got some small ball in there with Marte, who that's his bread and butter. You look at what he did last year. He stole about 47 bags or so. He's going to steal. He's going to run. But I love the fact that JT, after that, got Francisco Lindor, Didi Gregorius with a fantastic tag, fantastic scoop, throws the tag on Francisco Lindor. All right, Marte might be able to. Connor Brogdon gets the nod. He slides into the game. Marte takes off instantly. Okay, fine. But you don't want to run on JT. Marte might be able to. He's very rare. He's a very rare type of breed. There's not many guys that can get that style of jump. But JT was able to show off his cannon, and he did good at the plate today as a whole also. So that's kind of what I saw. I saw chances for the Phils, and I'm thinking these chances in later games will be different. Their execution level later on will be just fine. Today, though, just wasn't their night there. I thought their pitching, great. Not just Zack Wheeler, who I didn't know what to expect. I don't know if I'm in the minority. A couple of my buddies, we have a fantasy baseball group chat. We're talking about it a little bit, and I brought up, I'm not trying to be negative, or I'm not trying to look at this with the wrong mindset, but I do wonder what Zack Wheeler is going to be dominant-wise, considering what those innings did to him from last season. He's just not used to throwing that much. And then after he got the first inning out of the way, because keep in mind, it's not as if in spring training he was available to throw against real competition. He was planned to, but there was possible weather delay, and it didn't feel like it would be beneficial for him to get out there, have a rain delay, and then worry about what he's going to do with his arm and where he's going to get his throws. So they just held him off and had him throw in another situation instead of that spring training game. It was with some of the minor league guys, if I remember correctly. Makes a lot of sense, but that was his first time in real action, first time having guys on, first time throwing in a meaningful game. After that first inning, he shined. But Christopher Sanchez, awesome. I can relate that to what we saw yesterday with Nelson. You saw Familia, great. Connor Brogdon wasn't terrible, came into a situation, like I said, if you make the plays you're supposed to make, it's a totally different ball game. If Rhys Hoskins makes the play defensively at first base to turn 2, Zack Wheeler could be in the game longer. Not that who came in was bad, and they did an excellent job on their own right, but still, I'd rather have Zack Wheeler taking the mound for more innings if I can. Now you talk about Bryson Stott in the double play. Missed chance. Missed chance, missed chance, missed chance. Name of the game today. But that's going to be an identity issue all year long. Rhys Hoskins over at first. This isn't breaking news. This isn't rocket science. There's going to be times where the ball ends up hitting his glove and they don't execute. The difference is, in other scenarios, Rhys Hoskins goes up to the plate and he can deliver a moonshot and he can hit a 3-run bomb, which is obvious that's what he was looking for with some of those sliders. Even in a previous at-bat, there's a 96-mile-per-hour heater going right through the middle of the zone, and he's taking a hack daddy that just looked at the look in his eyeballs. You could see they just lit up monstrous, and you knew he wanted to put it into outer space. Sometimes, though, it takes you out of your comfort zone a bit, and maybe you could have just drove it, and almost the cliche answer of you're trying to do too much. At the same time, with the game on the line in the 9th inning, when you have a man on first and second, you're down 2-0 in the game. Obviously, someone like Rhys Hoskins, who has a killer swing, he looks for that. He looks for that big-time bomb. They just came up short. Saw some nasty things from Zack Wheeler, though. Had McNeil, 96-mile-per-hour, right down the middle of the plate. I don't know what he was looking for, to be honest with you. He just stared right at it. In what universe could you not hit a 96-mile? Not that. Let me take that back. The way I was about to phrase it, it was as if, oh, come on, you can't hit one. But what were you looking for in that scenario other than a fastball right over the heart of the plate? Pretty crazy. Had McCann swinging on the outside part of the plate. The ball's just moving beautifully towards that outside corner. So some nice pitch sequences from Zach, and it's a good start to build off of. I heard Ricky Bowe during the postgame show, and he said what he was looking for out of Zack Wheeler was, can we exit the game? And when he's out of the game, you look at Zack Wheeler and go, that was what we're looking for. That's a building step in the right direction based off the fact that he hasn't thrown yet. And I believe everybody with the right mind can approve that message of, yes, ding, 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 Zack Wheeler did a tremendous job. How about Alec Boehm? Alec Boehm gets the standing ovation. Now, when we last spoke, it was right after the game, and I heard him speak, and he acknowledged what went wrong. He acknowledged what happened. He took responsibility for it, and he held himself accountable. 5 seconds after that happened, we sat in this chair. Of course, here in Philadelphia on Sports Talk Radio, it was mentioned for the last 24 hours legitimately. Every radio station, every radio show in this market, they discussed Alec Boehm and what happened. And there were some interesting points to it. And I just feel that, look, Ben Simmons, Carson Wentz, when things go wrong, they just say, screw it, I am who I am. They don't really fix the problem or ever feel like they were in the wrong. I have to give credit to Alec Boehm for at least acknowledging it. Whether it came from Bryce Harper, whether it came from Didi, whether it came from Joe Girardi, because all of them knew what was going down before the game even ended. They saw and they were informed of the social media post while they were in the dugout still competing in the game. So they were prepared for it, and I felt he had the push and the nod from some of the veteran players, which I value, because they are professionals, and there's a lot of veterans in that clubhouse. And I think it's important for them to take the young one under their wing and say, this is what you should do here. It's not like that means Alec Boehm didn't feel any of that, and he was just being a puppet to what he thought was right. I think that he genuinely did feel genuinely. It was genuine. He felt that he screwed up, and he didn't like the way he handled it. There is an alternative, though, and there is, or maybe not an alternative, but there is another side to the conversation, which is in the moment of adversity, when that's your reaction, would you ever feel that Bryce Harper would feel that way? No. Would you ever think that Joel Embiid, when a crowd says a certain thing, he says, I hate it here? No. Now, he might boo you or shush you, right? And Joel Embiid's a special breed. It's hard to relate the way that Joel Embiid's personality is to anybody else because he is very unique. And we love that about him. And his upbringing, a lot different. Not that Alec Boehm is from the East Coast and he's from this style of life, because he's not. And it's different to being a big market, but it's a lot different being in the path of Joel Embiid compared to someone who grew up in the States and played baseball. And it's funny because Spencer Howard is another name that's being somewhat correlated to this. Spencer Howard would complain that he ran to first base too hard an inning before, and that's why he would lose 7 miles per hour on his fastball in one inning. Right? He would throw gas in the first. He'd throw 96, 97 in the first. And then before you know it, he's throwing 91 in the second or 91 in the third. And he'd say, yeah, I didn't have my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and running to first base took a lot of energy out. Excuse me? Those are some brutal excuses. And no, you're just pathetic. That's the issue here. You're not good at your job. That's why it's not happening. So, I mean, I guess to tie this back to Alec Boehm and get into the moral of the story is, no one who is actually wired the right way, Allen Iverson or anybody else who is a warrior and a great player, would ever say in any circumstance of hard times, I fucking hate it here. So the fact that that did come out of his mouth, whether he owned up to it or not, it says a lot about the makeup of the player in this city and the way that in that moment he felt. Like, I do have to look at that too and recognize, I don't know if great players would ever feel that way. They would feel upset with themselves. They shouldn't feel upset with the fans for holding you accountable for having 3 hours. This is Major League Baseball. This isn't the Little League World Series. This isn't, you know, what are they, AAU or the American Legion. Even at the American Legion level, you should already have a little bit more maturity. This is Major League Baseball. So the fact that that did slip out, whether he did look at the cameras afterwards and stand in front of his locker, which I admire, and that's the right way to do things, and that's the proper way to handle the situation. So if you're looking at any other option other than the way he did the best situation. Knowing he did the right situation, I can't forget what he did with those errors and what he said, because both can be true. A+ on standing in front of your locker, and that's why you got the standing ovation, because we're rooting for you. And there's something to be said about what you can do at the plate. You have a skill set. But I'll tell you what, you can't hide him. The way the roster is currently constructed, you can't hide him. So that's sort of my finishing touches on where I'm at with the Alec Boehm experience to this point and what we witnessed that went down the other day when he was just a disaster in the field. I can't forget him saying that. And I don't know what good players would ever say that in that moment. Players that are going to make it here. And if he does, kudos to him, and he proved me wrong. But there's something to be said about that happening. And his brain triggering down that path when the adversity hit. But I can also give him a round of applause and say, I'm proud of you for just going, yup, I did say that, because he could have made it seem like it was something else. And I wonder if he did say something. I wonder if he said, can we get out of this, please? Or let's get out of this, please? Or any of the other scenarios that possibly could have been read when reading his lips. But Bryce Harper said, yo, just say you said it. Because if you start pretending you did it, it would just be easier. It'll be over with. It'll be done with within a week. If you just say you said it, even if you didn't. Part of me wonders if that's the case. And then me just bashing him for his mental makeup is almost irrelevant. But unfortunately, we'll never know. All right, with that, we can open up the phone lines at 856-442-9805, 856-442-9805. That's the phone number. I want to hear from you, and we will start things off with Sean. What's up, Sean?
What's going on, Hunter? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
You know, this was a tough one, but it's made tougher knowing what you face tomorrow. I mean, the best way to get out of a slump is to go against Max Scherzer, right? I mean, that's my issue. I mean, look, the positives, again, tip my hat to Christopher Sanchez. Much like Nick Nelson, the kid came in and pitched his ass off. He gave you a chance to steal that game in the end. But, I'm old school in a lot of ways, not just with the Phillies, but with a lot of teams. And I see the way that guys approach at bats, and it's baffling to me. I mean, I see the guys tonight swinging from their shoe tops to hit a ball 500 feet, where if you hit a line drive and put it in the air, most likely it's going to go over the wall. Look at the Brandon Nimmo homer. Why do you have to kill it? And with 2 strikes, your job description changes. You have to put the ball in play. A single sometimes is the right way to go, especially if there's a man in scoring position. Drive the ball, make solid contact like Lindor did on the Mets' second run, hit a line drive. But they're taking these Herculean Babe Ruth-style cuts and coming up empty, and you're just playing into the hands of the opposition.
Now, I do think Rhys in the 9th inning was trying to smash that thing to win the game and, kind of going down that path where I'm not going to disagree. Maybe if there was a different approach, you saw JT get on first with just a little, it wasn't little, but it was a nice little, whatever, I keep using little, you get my point, down the right side there, and he got on base, and Nick Castellanos puts the ball in play, and the hustle to second base by JT was able to beat it. But at the same time, I got to tip my cap to Diaz because I do think that he was able to execute those pitches there to force him to be in that spot at the same time. Yeah, I mean, look, this team is built for a lot of power. This team is built to hit a lot of home runs, and that's part of their identity. So you're going to have to live with the good, and then you're going to have to live with the bad at the same time. But yeah, sure, I'm not going to disagree with at times they swing out of their shoes where it doesn't need to be. Didi Gregorius chasing 90-plus cheese at the top of the zone there, just didn't really need to happen.
Right. And even with the Hoskins at bat the inning before where he struck out looking, I mean, look, I understand the pitch was probably out of the zone. I'm not going to argue with you there. But again, with 2 strikes, you cannot stand there and look at a pitch. If it's relatively close, you have to offer at it.
Yeah, I'm torn. I'm torn on that one.
The opposition make a play.
I'm torn.
That's just me.
I know, I'm with you. I appreciate it, Sean. I'm torn on that one because you're right. Close, very close. At the same time, these are MLB professional hitters, and that was a ball. And if you're in a close count and you have a good eye, it's close, but your eye tells you it's off. Don't swing. It's a ball. Do not swing. And Rhys Hoskins, I'm not going to chase this pitch. It's because I'm not going to chase it. And he made the right decision by not chasing a pitch. Just unfortunately, the umpire behind the plate. So I'm torn on that one because there's legitimacy to saying if it's close enough, you have to protect. At the same time, the difference between the MLB level here of not swinging at something that's off the plate is, hey, that's a ball, dude. I'm not swinging at it. And then he got rung up. So the 6th inning, the 7th inning, the 9th inning. You can look at it one or two ways. Why weren't they able to score a run? Or, look, there were some chances to score runs. And if you keep giving this team, with this lineup, guys on base, and you have your 9th hole hitter, all right, no Veerling. He stunk it up. They're trying something new. You're butting guys over. You're getting Camargo on second. The more and more chances Schwarber gets with Camargo on second, the more and more chances Schwarber gets at the bottom of the 9th inning in a home game, down 2 runs to start things off. See, the game that was super cold against the A's, their at-bats, they were just going up there hacking. They were going up there swinging. The coldness of it, I'm sure they were just trying to get the game moving as well. Like, there's a lot of variables here once we get into this April. And then not only that, it takes time. It takes time to kind of get yourself into a groove. That's where they're at right now. You're right, though. When you play Max Scherzer on a Wednesday afternoon, and I'm going to be at Citizens Bank Park tomorrow, I'm looking forward to it. Going to be a nice day as well. Some perfect baseball weather, according to my calculations. The last time I checked, who knows, maybe something changed, but I don't think it did. Probably not the best. My counter to that would be, this Mets lineup hasn't wowed me. Alec Boehm was miserable, which gave the Mets life early in game 1 of this series. And if you get to their bullpen, Maybe their approach changes. Let's see what they dial up approach-wise against Max Scherzer, maybe to get to their bullpen. Have him throw some pitches, we'll see. If you can get to their bullpen, there's something to that. This Mets lineup hasn't wowed me to death. They had one homer today, and then they scored with some bad D. But their bad defense is going to happen. Can your offense make up for your pitching that's going to keep you in it? It's not making up for it. Can they make up for your defense? And then your starting pitching hold you involved. That's going to be the recipe for success all year long. And that's pretty much been the track record to this point. Pitching keeping you in, defense shooting you in the foot, and then it comes down to, does your offense make up for that? It has on some nights, it hasn't on others. Let's go back to the phones. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello.
I am so pissed off right now.
You are.
Because we had an opportunity against Edwin Diaz, one of the worst closers in baseball, and we kept swinging at the pitches way out of the zone. In 2019, he had a 21 ERA. A 21 ERA. Are you kidding me? And we couldn't hit this guy? He doesn't know how to pitch.
Okay. 2019 for a reliever. 3 years ago. We're talking about a reliever 3 years ago. Every single year, a reliever is different. Look at Familia this year so far. Obviously, there's a lot of time left. But come on, man. He threw some nice pitches today. You watched the game and thought Diaz sucked? I didn't watch today and say Diaz sucked. No, they went up there swinging. I got you. I'm going to tip my cap to him, though. I don't think he was awful and the Phillies just sucked. All right. I don't know where to go from there. We'll go to Amadeo, who's waiting patiently. What's up, Amadeo?
I don't know what was up that guy's ass.
Yeah, I just thought he was trying to be funny, maybe.
Yeah, probably. But I guess does this just everything stings so much more just because you get shut out by the Mets and the offense did have chances to score? Does it just it's the Mets and it stings even more just because of that standpoint?
Yeah, probably. And I'm sure just like Sean brought up, tomorrow's going to be tough. It's not impossible. We know what type of warrior Max Scherzer is, and he's going to be hard. He's going to be very difficult, and he's going to bring that intensity. It's not impossible to win a game. Now, normally, I guess I should say years ago, when you have Nola on the mound, you think maybe you can, be in a fight with the top-tier pitcher as well. Not the case anymore, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not writing this Phillies team off tomorrow just because Max Scherzer's on the mound, knowing that the Mets have their own problems too.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I have this weird feeling in my gut just because of the past two games with the way both teams' offenses have been just very quiet, and then they have their random spurts throughout the game. I just have this weird feeling that tomorrow the baseball gods work in weird ways, mysterious ways, that tomorrow might be a slugfest for some reason. I don't know why. I just had that gut feeling.
Ah, well, I hope you're right. Afternoon game, so I don't know what type of lineup we're going to see. I saw Stott at second base today, and it just shows his versatility and what you're capable of doing. That gives you some options to get Camargo in there like you saw today, and obviously with Max Scherzer, I'm fascinated to see what they're going to do with these lefties. Stott had a tough day at the plate, I thought. He looked a little bit overwhelmed. This was the first time I think I saw Bryson Stott looked a bit overwhelmed at the plate. Would you agree?
Yeah, I kind of saw that too as well. And the lineup tomorrow will probably be very interesting. It did sound like on postgame they said Rhys was most likely not going to be playing tomorrow. So I wonder if they
always take him out of the lineup when Max Scherzer's on the bump.
Yeah, so I wonder if they put a Bohm at first base, or you test JT at first base for today and put Stubbs behind the plate and see what happens there. But that's gonna be an interesting way how they set up the field. Because I would assume Gene Segura is gonna be back in the lineup tomorrow.
Yes, thanks, Amadeo. See, now that brings up a fascinating thought for me, because this is where you have to, and this kind of goes back to the Bohm situation, right? I don't want to force him. I'm not trying to force him to. I have to force him in and find ways to get him in. No, I'm not trying to do that. That's where you cause yourself some problems, and that's my concern. Now, you bring up an excellent point. With a weekday game, you'd imagine JT's off. Do you DH him? So JT DHs. Stubbs goes behind the plate. Bohm goes to first. And that would be right field, Bryce. Left field, either Schwarber or Castellanos. And now one of those guys are out of the lineup. Is Castellanos out of the lineup because Schwarber's your left-handed bat against a right-handed Max Scherzer? And now you're taking Castellanos out because you want to put Bowman there? Or, see, there's so many variables here, right? I mean, you could put JT Realmuto at first base, and then Bohm doesn't play again, and you DH Castellanos. Yeah, I mean, I'm not forcing Alec Bowman here, but I'm sure they're going to want to keep him involved. But I don't want to take one of my big bats out. Nope, not against this pitcher. But with Rhys Hoskins, I want to look up Rhys Hoskins on Baseball Reference. They always take him out. Going back to the Nationals situation. All right, let's go to his splits. I know it's not good, so it's not like, I hate it insanely. I don't hate it. He did strike out 3 times today, although he has been one of your better hitters and has started off the season very nicely as a whole. That's against opponents. That's ballparks. Where is the Major League players? Why isn't it on his splits here? Toronto Blue Jays. I've seen it before. Hold on. Rhys Hoskins versus Max Scherzer. Maybe if I just Google that specifically, it'll pop up. All right, head-to-head. Rhys Hoskins, here you go. 2017 and 2018. Well, where's all the others? No. I have to subscribe to see this? No, thank you. I'll find it. I'll look for it. Maybe one of you guys can help me while I take on the next caller here. I don't want to slow things down too much. Rhys Hoskins against Max Scherzer. 23 at-bats. He's hitting .043 with 12 strikeouts, 1 walk, 0 homers, 1 double. He's got 1 hit. 1 hit in 23 at-bats. If that's completely up to date here on Yahoo Sports, which I'd imagine it is. But that's what I see. 1 hit in 23 at-bats, which was a double, 1 walk, and 12 Ks. So, I mean, I'm not against that. I can see why they do that. But I also wonder, is this a different Rhys? Is this a more polished Rhys? Are you ever going to give Rhys a chance to make up for that? Like, he's a type of player that has a skill set. It's not a player who's just average. Rhys Hoskins is more than just average. He's got some killer mentality in him. Will he ever get a chance to say, I want to crack at it, right? Like, will he ever get a chance to stand in that box again and go, let me see if I can hit him now? I'm a different player now. It's 2022. What happened 3 years ago, what happened 4 years ago, what happened 2 years ago, I'm a different player. I'm not against that either. So I see both sides of it. He's a player that deserves that chance to make up for some previous failures against a pitcher. Because you learn. You go back to the tape. You study. You see what they do. Now it's Max Scherzer. The guy's a weapon. But I'm not against giving him another crack at it at the same time. But I won't bitch and complain if you don't either. That's all I'm just saying. Don't you think to some degree some of these better players should get that nod once in a while to see if there's been that next step or that next jump in that matchup? Just something to think about as we go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on Broads Media.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's up, man?
Nothing. I was at the game today. Pretty dead, not lively. I do gotta say this. I'm kind of a optimistic sort of person, so I did like the bullpen tonight. I liked it a lot.
As you should. We don't know what the new bullpen's going to look like, and it's so early, right? When you're at game 80, there's a lot more miles on the tires, a lot more wear and tear on these players for pitching so much. And this April is going to be a brutal stretch in terms of not having many days off. But it's been so ugly and almost so historically painful that you'd have to imagine that what we've seen as of late, it's going to turn around. And when I say as of late, I mean the last couple of seasons, the bullpen has been such a failure. It'll turn around and be, more of the norm considering how just dreadful it has been.
Right. I agree. I feel like all teams go through this sort of like no offense kind of
Yeah,
way.
the Mets. The Mets did it today. They just won.
Exactly. The Phillies out hit the Mets.
Yeah, they absolutely did, and appreciate it. There's a little bit of a buzz that's going on in the background that's kind of forcing a weird tone in my headphones, but appreciate the call. I think it's fair to be optimistic on the bullpen right now. Everyone we've seen has been excellent for the most part. Thought Familia had some good pitches and really showed off his repertoire today. He wasn't all over the map, which at times he can be, just like with Jose Alvarado, at times he can be. Brogdon came in, and I'm not going to rip him into shreds for what went down. This is what happens, right? Ranger Suarez, it wasn't like he was great in his first nod. At the same time, how am I supposed to judge someone that had 5 billion ground balls to the right side and your defense can't make the play? Same thing that happened in that inning. It's not like he got barreled up and ripped apart 5 billion different times and he was getting shelled and annihilated. There was a run scored, but it wasn't anything that made me feel worse about Connor Brogdon based off of what we saw in spring training. If anything, I can make the argument that what I saw out of Connor Brogdon actually made me feel a little bit better because he was getting just ripped 5 billion different ways in spring training, and it wasn't to that level of nastiness. So somehow, some way, I'm going to take away a positive from it in general. The chat is saying Familia is terrible. Well, you spelled his name wrong. You said familiar. I don't know who familiar is. Familia has had ups and downs, but that's a bullpen pitcher. I don't know if you're new to the sport of baseball, but bullpen pitchers have great 2 weeks, bad 2 weeks, great 1 years, bad 2 years. Welcome to Major League Baseball. And considering what the Phillies had, let's not just forget that they went through one of the worst, actually the second worst in MLB history style of bullpen. He may have some bad struggling moments. I'll take his bad struggling moments compared to what I've witnessed with some demoralizing losses. I don't even think demoralizing does justice on how some of these painful L's have felt over the last 2 seasons. We'll keep these phone calls rolling. Hello, you're on the air.
Yuck. Another rough night of the 5 offense to watch. Only one strong inning in the past 3 games. Hopefully this proves to be an early season slump.
Yeah, I mean, it's, 5 games in, they're 3-2. There's a lot of baseball to go. And, I mean, I'm not going to say there's only been one good inning. I just referenced you the 6th, 7th, and 9th where they put themselves in a spot to knock in a run. And if you're going to get runners in scoring position, and if you're going to get at-bats by the big meat and potatoes of your lineup with players in position to score, eventually it will fall. It's like a 3-point shooter who has all these, let's say Steph Curry has 7 wide open looks and they're just not falling. Keep shooting that shot and it'll eventually go. That's how I kind of look at this meat and potato order of the lineup where, all right, if you're up to bat in the 9th with a chance to win it and some good chances, I feel over time we'll be okay.
And hopefully Zack Wheeler can keep this sort of outing minus the home run in first inning. And to be honest, that long first inning, because of the pitch count, was a big piece of why that home run was hit. I mean, a lower pitch count and Wheeler's less tired out, and maybe that pitch is elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Fine to bring up. Same at Rhys Hoskins. If Rhys Hoskins can turn 2, you're out of the inning differently, right? So there's a lot of that. Not just him and the self-inflicted wounds by Wheeler, but the self-inflicted wounds by the defense. I just can't get away from the defense is always going to do that. That's not changing. So be prepared as a pitcher. And as a fan, be prepared. An 18 pitch count inning might turn into a 30, right? I mean, unfortunately, an 8 pitch count inning could turn into a 22 pitch count inning, unfortunately. And that really isn't going to go anywhere, which stinks. But can you make up for it in other ways? That's the question. All right, everyone, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. We will be back tomorrow, of course, after the afternoon game. Once I get back from Citizens Bank Park, we'll break it all down. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate your time. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Rhodes Media, on TikTok at Rhodes Media, and on Instagram at Rhodes Media. Thank you guys so much, and I'll